Hey friends, so I've been getting a lot of requests to share my resume or my Google resume, the one that helped me land a role at Google, but also I was shortlisted at Amazon and Microsoft too. So I can kind of call it a FAANG resume. And yeah, we'll dive deep into how and what kind of skills I had on my resume and what kind of format I used for my resume. So here's my resume, and you can see I have my name in bold and some of my contact information, which obviously I will leave blank for now because of this video. And you can see there's a link to my portfolio, my LinkedIn, and my GitHub. And I used to use this format and I won't be using it anymore because I don't want like skills and abilities on top. I do want my work experience to be on top. So I would make that recommendation, and I'll keep making some recommendations as we go through this resume. But nevertheless, it was still selected and I still went for interviews at various FAANG companies. So for skills and abilities, I have listed some skills that I'm really proficient in. So you can see excellent proficiency with cloud technologies, and at that time it was AWS and Azure. I'm ramping up my GCP skills, and then also some key services that I want to point out. So EC2, DynamoDB, load balancing, AWS Amplify, VPC, and more. And then I also have some good knowledge in Linux and Unix systems, and this was due to my program that I took in college, the 2-year diploma that I did in computer networking. So those skills are listed here. Also, I have some SQL experience or SQL experience, so I have that here too. And then some basic front-end skills that I have is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, and Gatsby. Familiarity with Git, and then all the tools that I used at ECI. So TeamCity, Datadog, and Jira, Confluence. So all of those are listed here. And then we dive into the work experience. I do want to pause at this moment and also want to say that keep your resume, especially with formatting and like the layout that you choose, keep it clean. Don't have like a fancy resume, like don't have too much information cluttered. So I've seen a lot of 2-column resumes online or on Canva, in some videos. I'm not a huge fan of those. I love to keep it simple, and it has been succeeding really good in the workspace. So yeah, keep it simple. And I do have a template that I have in mind where I want to use that in my next resume or whenever I update my resume. And I'll share that in bio. So go check it out. It's pretty straightforward. We can go over it towards the end of the video. But yeah, coming back to my resume. So I have my work experience. So you can see I only worked at one company. So basically I have my DevOps engineer role, which was my most recent. And you can see I still have present, so I have to change that. It's pretty straightforward. So automated 70% of deployments for internal tools used by this team, implement a script to create uptime monitoring sensors covering 90% of our products. So this was a really cool project, and I wrote this script in Python. And I usually talk about this during the interview process whenever I'm asked. And then standardizing Git workflow process. This is a good example of my documentation skills. So I had written a really good workflow for Git for our team, which was the DevOps. And then also documented 60% of current workflows associated to our team. So pretty straightforward, you can see. And then diving into my cloud operations or cloud ops engineer role. I worked in this role for almost 2 years, and you can see I think I could do a better job, and also having more measurable skills. I think like more measurable goals in my description here for the role would have been better than what I have right now. So you can see reporting, anomaly identification, tracking, and transporting, backup recovery planning, simulation, and testing. So because I was involved with the QA teams a lot, I have this here where not only we backed up everything and stuff, but also we had to simulate our production environment so that we could perform proper testing before anything that goes to production, right? And then scheduling and management of operations staff for on-call response and remediation of unexpected issues. So I was on call for almost 1.5 years. Usually it took me 6 months to get used to the role and familiarize myself with the cloud environment that we had and how we used AWS. And after that, I was put on call. So every alternate week I was on call, and I think I had like 8 on-call events, and they were around like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. kind of deal over the year. So not bad, but yeah, we did some improvements with those events. But yeah, that was part of this role. And then cloud environment performance analysis by setting up monitoring tools like Datadog and PRTG, which are pretty famous monitoring tools, I want to say. And then ongoing development, documentation, and maintenance of runbooks. So there were runbooks involved with our cloud ops roles, and I helped creating new ones, but also maintaining the ones that were already created. So updates to the runbooks and that kind of stuff. So the next point here is budget and cost monitoring. This was part of like the year-end budgeting process where we would see how much money we have spent in AWS and where we could save money in AWS, right? And then we have ongoing review of services and tools to improve efficiency and reduce costs. So as I said, I had around 8 on-call incidents, and those were brought down. Like we had less on-call incidents as we kept improving our infrastructure and the way we managed our infrastructure. And you can see this is like the first, I think, metric-based point that I have here, that we had 40% less on-call incidents. So yeah, that's what I mean by having more numbers in my points here under a certain role. So you can also see the next one, which is implement load balancing and configure Edge proxy and Nginx, which served over 50 million connections. So that's a good one too. It shows like how I have experience with working like large scale applications, right? And how experienced I'm in Edge proxy and Nginx when it comes to load balancing. So the next one is the first role I had in tech is the technical support specialist, which is also my support role that I've talked about a lot. And this one was pretty straightforward. I was supporting a product, so most of it is towards that, training on system components and sharing best practices. Again, this was for customers, so we would provide some kind of training every now and then to certain customers so that they can work with our product better. SQL querying to identify and resolve issues. So this is where I learned a lot of my SQL or SQL querying skills, even though I did study it in the college. But yeah, I really got good at writing, not want to say complex, but some advanced scripts, I would say. Assist with integrations to third-party applications. This involved with working with the API for our product, so helping customers and assisting them on like how they can make their API calls better, or how they could use our API. Update customer systems with patches and new versions of the solution. Resolve complex issues requiring more in-depth understanding of system operations. So I worked in this role for almost a year until I switched to my cloud job here. And all of these 3 roles were at the same company. Again, one recommendation I would have for myself here is to have more numbers, right? So moving on, I have the projects and community section, which I know I would like to stick to 1-page resume, but I'll try to minimize the space or the content that is on my resume with my new one. But for now, I had this, and for the projects, the number 1 is Resume API with Azure Functions. So this is one of the projects that I submitted for Serverless September's Microsoft's event, and Gwen talked about this on the event. It was a great event. I learned about serverless. I learned about how Azure Functions work. So yeah. And then I have my Cloud Notes and blogs. You already know. I have my Cloud Notes publicly available. They're available on notes.reshape.cloud. So I do want to show them off, right? Because it's open source and I'm contributing to the community. and also my blog. So I have a technical blog where I write about cloud and DevOps. You can find it at blog.rishipkumar.com. I do want to brag about that too on my resume. And then also some AWS CLI cheat sheets. So I want to show that I'm experienced with AWS and the command line. So I have this on my resume here. For education, most of you already know I have done 2-year diploma in computer networking and technical support from Kingston at St. Lawrence College. And then I also have certifications, which I won't be including it anymore. And you can see I have a lot of them. So it's a bad, I think it's a red flag, but yeah, I won't be having them anymore. But yeah, that covers up my resume, and it's 2-page right now, but I'll try to bring it down to 1 page. If not, most probably we won't have skills and we won't have certifications. So I think it'll be manageable in 1 page. And then the resume that I did want to talk about, like the layout that I'll be using or a template that I'll be using, I do want to show you. So if you go to Google and type in David Gary Googler resume, the second result, he has this on Heroku. So if I click this, and you can see the resume here. So it's pretty straightforward. It's single page. It goes right to the point. Like, it starts with work experience. As I said, I don't want to include skills anymore. So that's what I'll do now, is start straight away with my work experience, have the roles that I've had in the past listed here, and then my education. And then in the end, maybe I'll include like one for languages or skills, and then the other one for interests. But I do want to have it in the end. Or maybe certifications can go here. I don't want to list all of them, but maybe like 1 or 2. We'll see how I go about it. But yeah, this is pretty straightforward, and I'll share this in the bio, and I also will share my resume in the bio, so you can, if you, whichever format you like, you can pick it up. But yeah, that's about it, and hopefully you find this video useful. And if you're applying to jobs in this year, hope you get the role that you are looking for, and I just want to wish you luck. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one.